The evening was quiet, save for the soft clink of dishes as Irina cleared the dinner table. Gennady sprawled across the couch, his arms folded behind his head, staring thoughtfully at the ceiling. "What if we asked your folks for help?" he mused, his voice tinged with a mix of hope and hesitation. Irina paused, setting her teacup gently on the table before sinking into the seat beside him. The news about Svetlana's Dacha being up for sale had consumed her thoughts all day, painting vivid pictures of a life they could only dream of until now. "Can you imagine what this could mean for us?" Irina said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. 10 acres of lush land, complete with a thriving vegetable garden, a sturdy greenhouse, an apple orchard bursting with promise, a charming gazebo, and, most importantly, a real house. A 2-story haven with modern comforts, priced at a mere 3 million rubles, though any realtor would swear it was worth closer to 5. She closed her eyes, a soft smile spreading across her face as she envisioned lazy summer evenings on the veranda, sipping tea, harvesting fresh vegetables, and breathing in the scent of blooming flowers. The 1,000,000 rubles they'd painstakingly saved over the years suddenly felt like a drop in the bucket compared to this opportunity. "Let's call your parents right now," Gennady urged, sitting up abruptly and reaching for his phone. "Svetka won't wait forever. She said we've got 1 week to decide before she starts looking for other buyers. We can't let this slip through our fingers." Irina's heart raced as she nodded, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. The phone rang with long, drawn-out beeps, each one stretching the tension in the room. When her mother's familiar voice finally answered, Irina dove straight in. "Mom, you remember how you and Dad always said you'd help if we ever needed money? Well, there's this incredible chance. My colleague Svetlana, you met her at last year's office party. She's getting married to a Canadian and selling her dacha. It's absolutely stunning, Mom. A beautiful house, a huge plot, a garden that's been tended with so much love. There's even an orchard and a greenhouse." Her words tumbled out in a rush, painting the picture she'd been carrying in her heart all day. "How much is she asking?" her mother asked, her tone practical but warm. 3 million, but the realtors say it's worth at least 5. She's only selling it so cheap because she's moving abroad in a month and needs to wrap things up quickly. "And you're short 2 million, her mother finished, understanding the unspoken plea. "Hold on a moment." The line went quiet, save for muffled voices as Irina's mother conferred with her father. Irina held her breath, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The wait felt like an eternity, each second heavy with anticipation. Finally, her mother returned. "Sweetheart, we've talked it over. You're right. This is a rare opportunity, one you can't let pass by. We'll give you the 2 million. Irina's breath caught in her throat, tears of relief and gratitude welling in her eyes. She glanced at Gennady, giving him a triumphant thumbs up. He grinned broadly, his earlier tension melting away. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad," Irina said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You have no idea what this means to us. We'll invite you over all the time, and we'll spend summers together, harvesting vegetables, relaxing in the garden. It'll be perfect." "Of course, darling," her mother replied gently. "Tomorrow your father and I will withdraw the money and bring it over. In the meantime, sort out the paperwork. Who's it going to be registered to?" Irina's gaze drifted to Gennady, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. Their city apartment was registered in his name, a decision made years ago when they were young and newly married. It only seemed fair to balance things out. "Let's put the dacha in my name," she suggested, her tone soft but firm. The apartment's in your name, so this feels right. Gennadi's shoulder twitched slightly, a fleeting gesture that Irina couldn't quite read. His eyes flickered with something discomfort, perhaps? But he nodded. Sure, why not? He said, though his voice lacked its usual warmth. A quiet unease stirred in Irina's chest, but she pushed it aside. This was their dream, after all, and nothing could overshadow the joy of it. The next morning, Irina rushed to Svetlana's office, her heart pounding with excitement. Svetlana took one look at her glowing face and laughed. You're buying it, aren't you? Yes, Irina exclaimed, barely containing her glee. My parents agreed to help. They're bringing the money today. But I have a favor to ask. Can I swing by the Dacha again after work? I want to see it with fresh eyes, knowing it's almost ours, and we can go over the documents too. That evening, Irina returned to the Dacha, her perspective transformed. Every detail, the rustling leaves of the apple trees, the neat rows of vegetables, the cozy gazebo tucked under a canopy of vines, felt deeply personal now. This wasn't just a property. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Svetlana, noticing her friend's awe, smiled warmly. I'm so glad it's going to you, Irina. This place is special. Every tree, every bush has a story. See that apple tree over there? I planted it 3 years ago, and this summer it gave its first fruit. And those currant bushes? My grandmother tended them when I was a kid. Irina listened, her heart swelling with anticipation. She could already see herself and Gennady here, tending the garden, hosting family gatherings, preserving the legacy of this land. Svetlana led her through the greenhouse, pointing out the sturdy frame designed to withstand heavy snow, and the basement, where custom shelves held jars of homemade preserves. Upstairs, the 2 cozy bedrooms and a spacious balcony overlooked the orchard, promising serene evenings under the stars. Imagine sitting here with a cup of tea watching the sunset, Svetlana said dreamily. This balcony was my sanctuary. You're so lucky, Irina. This place is going to bring you so much happiness. Later that night, Irina and Gennady drove to her parents' house to collect the money. Her father handed over a thick envelope with a quiet nod, while her mother enveloped her in a tight hug. Take care of this place, sweetheart, her mother whispered. A gift like this doesn't come twice. And don't forget to invite us over. We'll help with the garden, share the harvests, make memories together. I promise, Mom, Irina replied, her voice thick with emotion. None of this would have happened without you and Dad. The drive home was unusually quiet. Gennady's hands gripped the steering wheel a little too tightly, his jaw set in a way that made Irina uneasy. When they finally sat down to discuss the deal, he broke the silence. Listen, maybe we should put the dacha in my name after all. I'm the man of the house, you know. It'd be easier for me to handle all the practical stuff. Plus, that 1,000,000 rubles was our joint savings. Irina shook her head, her resolve firm. No, Gennady. Let's keep it fair. The apartment's in your name, and my parents put up 2 million. It makes sense for the dacha to be in mine. She searched his face for understanding, but his expression was unreadable. He didn't argue further, but the air between them felt heavier than before. A week later, the deal was finalized. Svetlana, her eyes brimming with tears, handed over the keys and a handwritten guide to caring for the plants. You're going to love it here, she said, squeezing Irina's hand. Take good care of my garden, okay? When Irina and Gennady arrived at the dacha as its new owners, the reality of ownership hit her like a warm embrace. She stood in the garden, inhaling the earthy summer air, her heart overflowing with joy. Gennady came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. "Ready to make this place our home?" he asked, his voice soft for the first time in days. She nodded, leaning into him, hopeful that their shared dream would smooth over any lingering tensions. In early June, the couple took time off work to dive into their new life. Svetlana's garden was a marvel, robust tomato seedlings in the greenhouse, strawberry bushes blushing with fruit, rows of vegetables thriving under the sun's care. Irina wandered through, marveling at their fortune. "Can you believe this is all ours?" she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Tomorrow, let's tackle the greenhouse. Those tomatoes need tying up, and I'm thinking we could plant peonies along the path to the house. It'll be so beautiful." Gennady threw himself into the work, tying vines, digging flower beds, and tinkering in the shed. Evenings found them on the veranda, sipping tea and dreaming up plans. A new flower bed here, a swing there, perhaps a small pond someday. For a fleeting moment, Irina believed this bliss would last forever. But trouble was closer than she realized. On the third day of their vacation, as Irina knelt in the strawberry patch gathering berries for breakfast, an uninvited guest arrived. Gennady's mother, Lyudmila, swept onto the property with a massive suitcase and a bag of groceries, her presence as commanding as ever. "Mom, what's going on?" Gennady asked, startled. "What's going on? I'm here to help," Lyudmila announced, striding toward the house. "You two are just starting out here. You need someone with experience. I ran my own dacha for 20 years. I know how it's done." Irina's stomach sank. Lyudmila had indeed managed a small garden years ago, but after her husband's death, she'd let it go to seed and sold it off without so much as consulting Gennady. Now she was here, uninvited, her tone suggesting she planned to take charge. "Mom, we're managing fine," Irina said cautiously. "Svetlana left detailed instructions for everything." Lyudmila waved her off. "Svetlana? That city girl? What does she know? I'll teach you how to run a proper homestead. This isn't child's play. It takes know-how." She claimed the spare bedroom, unpacked her things, and began issuing orders. By lunch, it was clear she wasn't staying for a short visit. "Irina, you're picking strawberries all wrong," Lyudmila chided, hovering over her. "You need to keep the stems on, or they'll spoil. And then, water the beds, they're parched. Gennady, fetch me some water. I'll have tea and show Irina how to tie up those cucumbers properly." Irina bit her tongue, though she'd already mastered the care routines from Svetlana's guidance. Lyudmila's constant corrections, delivered with a mix of criticism and superiority, grated on her nerves. The situation deteriorated further when Lyudmila started picking ripe berries herself, distributing them to neighbors' kids without asking, and boasting, "These are from our garden. My Gennady and I grew them. He's so capable, just like his father." Irina seethed silently, her desire to keep the peace warring with her growing resentment. Gennady, meanwhile, seemed blind to the tension, spending more time in the shed and deferring to his mother's opinions on everything from planting to repairs. Decisions they once made together were now filtered through Lyudmila's expertise, with Irina informed after the fact. One evening, as Irina endured another lecture on improperly weeded beds, her phone rang. It was her mother, her voice bright with excitement. "Sweetie, your dad and I want to visit this weekend to see how you're settling in. Is that okay?" "Absolutely, Mom," Irina replied, her spirits lifting. "The strawberries are incredible. I'll save a big basket for you. Dad's going to love them." When she shared the news, Gennady's face tightened and Lyudmila's lips pursed in a sour grimace. "How convenient," she muttered. "They fork over some cash and think they can show up whenever they please. Typical." The weekend arrived, and so did her Irina's parents, their arrival a breath of fresh air. "What a paradise!" her mother exclaimed, admiring the garden. "And these strawberries? You're doing wonders, Irina." "It's all thanks to my expertise," Lyudmila interjected, her tone sharp. "I've been teaching Irina how to manage things properly. We're making jam tonight, my special recipe." "Could we take a few berries home?" Irina's mother asked tentatively. "Your dad loves fresh strawberries, and we haven't had any this year." Lyudmila hesitated, her eyes narrowing. "Well, I'm not sure. We need a lot for the jam." "Yeah, Mom's right," Gennady added, his voice clipped. "The harvest's small this year. Barely enough for us, and I love that jam. I eat it by the spoonful." Irina's jaw dropped. "Small? We have 3 huge beds. And these are my parents. How can we begrudge them a bucket of berries?" "We're not stingy," Gennady snapped, his voice rising. "We just don't have enough to give away. End of story." Lyudmila chimed in, her voice saccharine. "I'm doing this for you, Gennady. You'll thank me when we've got jam for winter." Irina's father, usually reserved, stepped in. "Wait a moment. We're talking about a couple of kilos of berries. Is that really an issue?" "It's an issue!" Gennady exploded. "Because you waltz in here, acting like you own the place. This is our garden. We decide what to do with it." The argument spiraled, voices overlapping in a cacophony of hurt and anger. Lyudmila crowed triumphantly. "There it is! Always about the money. They think because they paid, they can dictate everything." Irina's mother, pale with fury, retorted, "Are you implying we need permission to take a few from my daughter's land?" "Your daughter's land?" Gennady shouted, his face red. "This is mine. I'm the man here, and I decide who gets what. There's no spare strawberries. Deal with it." "Enough!" Irina roared, her patience shattering. She turned to Gennady and his mother, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "You're not the owners here. Not you, Lyudmila. Not you, Gennady. The Dacha is registered in my mother's name. All the documents are hers. My parents paid the 2 million. If anyone has a say, it's her. And she'll take as many strawberries as she wants." A stunned silence fell over the garden. Lyudmila gasped, clutching her chest like a melodramatic actress. Gennady stared at Irina, his face a mask of betrayal. "What did you say?" he whispered. "In your mother's name?" "That's right," Irina said, unflinching. "And what does it matter? You wanted to tend the land, to build a life here. That's what counts, not the paperwork." "You lied to me," Gennady said, his voice shaking with fury. "All this talk of our dacha, our future, it was a sham." "No lie," Irina said, exhausted. "I thought it was fair, given my parents' contribution. Why does it matter whose name it's in? It's ours to share." "Fair?" Lyudmila shrieked. "My son slaved here, digging, building, sweating for nothing. You used him." Irina's father spoke up, his voice calm but firm. "We didn't ask for renovations. We helped our daughter buy a home for her family. The registration is a precaution, nothing more. Our family put in 2.5 million. Yours put up 500,000. Let's not lose perspective." Gennady's voice rose to a scream. "You're unbelievable. You register it behind my back, set your own rules, and I'm supposed to comply? I'm done. I want a divorce. I won't live with a woman who deceives me, whose family treats me like a servant." "Good for you, son," Lyudmila crowed. "No need to endure this humiliation." Irina met his gaze, her heart heavy but resolute. Fine, let's divorce. The apartment will be split 50-50 as the law says. The Dacha stays with my family. We'll see about that, Gennady snarled, grabbing his mother's arm. I'll get a lawyer. You'll regret this. They stormed off, the gate slamming behind them. Irina sank onto the bench, tears streaming down her face. Her parents flanked her, their arms around her, offering silent strength. A month later, the divorce was finalized. The apartment was divided, and Irina bought out Gennady's share, staying in the city alone. The Dacha, now truly hers, became a sanctuary of renewal. Lyudmila occasionally spread tales of her scheming ex-daughter-in-law, but her complaints found no audience. Gennady remarried and moved away, starting over in another city. Irina, meanwhile, found peace. Every weekend, she and her parents tended the dacha, transforming it into the warm, welcoming haven they'd always envisioned, a place of family, growth,